All you need is already within. There is a voice that lives beneath the noise of your mind, a sacred hum, ancient and still, pulsing with the wisdom of the infinite. It is not loud. It does not beg for your attention. It waits, quietly, lovingly, eternally. And when the noise of striving fades, when the masks fall and the world no longer demands a performance, you will hear it. It will not speak in commands or conditions. It will whisper a truth so pure it dissolves every doubt. You are whole. You always have been. From the moment of your first breath, before you learned your name, before you knew what it meant to win or to lose, you were already complete. The divine breathed itself into you not as an act of reward, but as a gesture of love. You were not born broken. You were not sent here to earn your worth. You came into this world carrying everything you would ever need, wrapped in the mystery of your own presence. But the world, forgetting its own sacredness, taught you otherwise. It handed you mirrors filled with distortion and called them truth. It told you love must be earned, peace must be purchased, and joy must be deserved. And so you began the long pilgrimage, outward seeking validation and applause, security and accumulation, and identity and illusion. You became a seeker of what you already carried. A wanderer in search of home, not realizing home was always under your feet. The ego, well-meaning but blind, became your compass. It told you to climb ladders, chase dreams, perfect yourself until you were acceptable. And though it screamed in the language of ambition, your soul remained still, watching, waiting, knowing that what the ego strives for, the spirit already is. You do not need to become more. You need only to remember more deeply who you've always been. This remembering is not an act of the mind, it is a return to presence. Presence is where your essence lives, untouched by the past and unburdened by the future. Presence is not something you find. It is what remains when you stop trying to find anything. It is the quiet recognition that this moment, this breath, this now is sacred, and so are you. You are not the labels you wear, not the successes you showcase or the failures you hide. You are not the story that's been told about you, nor the one you tell yourself. You are the awareness behind it all, the observer, the witness, the formless essence that never began and will never end. You are the space in which the experience of life arises. And that space is vast. It is light. It is God remembered in form. To awaken is not to escape your humanity, but to infuse it with divinity. It is not to float above life's pain, but to walk through it with grace, knowing it cannot touch the core of who you are. The soul does not shatter. It does not falter. It simply waits for your return. And when you return, everything softens. The striving ends. The race dissolves. And in its place rises a peace that passes all understanding, not because the world has changed, but because you have remembered that you were never apart from it. You are the ocean in a single drop, the sky reflecting in a quiet pool, the sacred clothed in the ordinary. And when you see yourself through the eyes of the divine, you realize that there is nothing to fix, nothing to earn, nothing to chase, only everything to embrace. The Tao Te Ching says, "He who knows he has enough is rich." But this richness is not measured in gold or accolades. It is felt in the fullness of being. It is the abundance of sitting in stillness and knowing you lack nothing. It is the wealth of inner alignment, where every breath becomes a hymn and every moment a temple. And from this alignment, life unfolds differently, not as a battlefield, but as a dance. Not as something to conquer, but as something to collaborate with. When you live from the truth that all you need is already within, your energy changes. You no longer grasp, you extend. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer defend, you express. Life responds not to your desperation, but to your wholeness. Not to your mask, but to your authenticity. And oh, how magnetic authenticity is. When a soul remembers itself, it shines in a way that cannot be ignored. Not with flash, but with frequency. Not with performance, but with presence. This is not charisma, it is clarity. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are enough without needing to prove it. Let go now of the myth that you must do more, be more, achieve more to be worthy. Your worth is not a currency to be earned. It is the ground of your being. It is not up for debate. It is not subject to change. It was given to you before time began, and it remains untouched by any story you've lived through. You are not behind. You are not late. You have not missed your chance. The divine is not in a hurry. The unfolding of your soul is not bound to clocks or calendars. It moves in rhythm with eternity. And in this eternal now, you are exactly where you are meant to be. Everything you have walked through has brought you closer, not to a destination, but to the realization that the destination was always within you. The teachers come not to give you truth, but to point you back to your own. Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is within you, not in the sky, not in a temple, but within." And the kingdom is not a place, it is a state of being. It is the peace that arises when you stop seeking and start seeing. It is the joy that emerges when you no longer barter with the universe for your value. It is the freedom that dawns when you dissolve the illusion of separation. You have never been separate, not from God, not from love, not from truth. Separation is the grand illusion, the veil cast by the mind when it forgets to listen to the heart. But every breath, every still moment, every act of surrender thins that veil until it vanishes entirely. And there, in the quiet aftermath, you see clearly you are the light you've been looking for. So live from this place, not someday, but now. Let your life be a reflection of inner wholeness, not outer striving. Speak not to be heard, but to reveal your truth. Walk not to escape, but to arrive more deeply in the moment. Create not to impress, but to express the sacred that breathes through you. You are not broken. You are becoming transparent. Transparent to the light that has always been within you. And the more you shed the roles, the expectations, the falsehoods, the more that light shines. Let your being be enough. Let your breath be prayer. Let your presence be your power. All you need is not out there. It is not in the approval of others, the accomplishments of your hands, or the admiration of the world. All you need is already within. And when you know this, not as an idea, but as a lived truth, you become free. Not because the world changed, but because you remembered that you were never bound. The door was never locked. The key was always inside you. And now, with gentle courage and unshakable grace, you turn it, and you walk through. There is a rhythm beneath your thoughts, a silent pulse that carries the music of the infinite. It does not need to be learned. It only needs to be felt. It is the original language of your being older than any memory, softer than any fear, wiser than any doctrine. When you attune yourself to this rhythm, you do not just hear life, you become it. You are no longer the dancer seeking the steps. You are the dance itself, fluid, unforced, unfolding in perfect time with the universe's heartbeat. You were never meant to carry so much. The burdens, the comparisons, the masks they were picked up in moments of fear inherited from voices who had forgotten their own light. But what was picked up can be put down. There is nothing noble about wearing heaviness as a badge. Grace does not require effort, it only requires presence. And presence is born the moment you surrender the need to perform. You are not here to survive your life, you are here to embody it. To inhabit your breath, your skin, your sacred now, without apology or anticipation. The future is not where your salvation waits. Salvation is not a destination. It is the realization that nothing is missing from this moment. Not one thing. When you stop leaning forward, you find that the ground beneath you is holy. When you stop reaching outward, you realize that everything you've longed for is already leaning toward you. Let this be the moment you cease asking life for permission to exist. You were chosen to be here, not randomly, not accidentally, but purposefully. Your existence is not a fluke of biology. It is an act of divine intention. The atoms that compose you carry echoes of stars. The breath you just took is the continuation of an ancient promise, that life moves through you, not in spite of you. Do not confuse humility with diminishment. The soul bows, but it never shrinks. True humility is not thinking less of yourself, it is thinking of yourself truthfully. And the truth is, you are neither above nor beneath anything in this world. You are part of the sacred fabric stitched together by love itself, inseparable from the whole. To diminish your light is not modesty, it is denial. Denial of the gift you are, the presence you offer, the frequency you carry that no other being in the cosmos can replicate. You are not the shadow cast by your wounds. You are the light that has survived them. Every heartbreak, every silence, every ache was not meant to harden you, but to hollow out space for something deeper. The cracks you hide are the places where the light gets in and where it pours out. Do not be ashamed of the places you have bled. The soul does not grow in perfection, it expands in honesty. In the stillness, when no one is watching, when the roles have been laid down and the striving has gone quiet, you will meet yourself again. And when you do not rush to fix, to evaluate, or to adjust. Just sit, just witness. There is an entire universe behind your eyes, longing not to be corrected but to be embraced. The cosmos do not judge their own galaxies. They spin in silent celebration of being. So should you. And if the winds of doubt come again as they do, they are not enemies to fight, but invitations to listen. Beneath every fear is a younger self, longing not for solutions, but for presence. When you greet your fear with compassion rather than control, it softens. It reveals the longing underneath. And that longing is never for safety or certainty or guarantees. It is for wholeness. Wholeness that has never been missing, only temporarily veiled. This is not the path of escape, it is the path of return. Return to the unmoving center within you where time slows and truth speaks. You do not need to find the path, it is revealed as you walk. Each step is the path, each breath is the teacher, and each moment, no matter how ordinary, is an altar of the divine. You are not walking toward light, you are walking from it. It is already behind you, within you, surrounding you. There is no destination. There is only the deepening, the descent into presence, the unlearning of separation, the rising into the radiant truth of your own being. And in that rising, everything changes. Not because you have added anything, but because you have finally let go. Let go of who you were told to be, let go of who you tried to be, let go of the idea that you must prove anything to be worthy of love, of peace, of joy. These are not prizes to be won, they are your inheritance, and you are ready to claim them. There is a sacred intelligence that breathes you even as you forget to breathe. It is not asking for your effort, it is asking for your trust. Trust not in outcomes, not in appearances, but in the eternal rhythm of your own unfolding. A river does not panic to reach the sea. It flows because it remembers. Deep within you is this same memory, a knowing older than thought, a current beneath every fear, whispering, you are already on your way. You do not need to accelerate your becoming. The rose does not bloom by striving, it opens because it trusts the Sunday, and the sun does not judge whether a petal opens on time. So why do you? Who told you that your pace must match someone else's? Who convinced you that delay is failure or that rest is regression? Every living thing unfolds at its own sacred rhythm. You are no exception. You are not late to your own life. You are simply being called into deeper alignment with it. There are no wrong turns in the realm of the soul. Only paths that taught you, softened you, stripped away the unnecessary, so that only the essential could remain. Every detour was grace in disguise, every closed door an invitation to turn inward, to touch the vastness that no door can contain. The ego sees obstacle, the soul sees initiation. And if you could step back far enough from the noise of your judgments, you would see it too, that not one moment was wasted, not one tear was without purpose. Even your silence spoke in the language of transformation. You were never meant to arrive at a final version of yourself. You are a being in motion, in process, in divine dance, with a universe that is still creating itself. Completion is not a static state, it is a presence, a knowing that right here, as you are, without the need to improve or perform, you are whole. You are not the rough draft of a future perfection. You are the living expression of wholeness in motion. And in this motion, let there be tenderness. Let your growth not be a punishment, but a blessing. Let your healing not be a war, but a reunion. The soul does not scream when it wants to grow its size. It does not clench when it's ready to transform, it opens. Real transformation is not about becoming extraordinary. It is about seeing that your ordinariness is already infused with divinity. You will not find the divine in grand gestures or perfect plans. You will find it in the quiet choices, in the silent courage of being honest with yourself, in the gentleness with which you hold your own heart. The sacred lives not in the thunder, but in the still small voice that says, stay, breathe, trust. And when you trust, you begin to move differently. Your energy no longer contracts, in fear it expands in love. Your words no longer carry defense, they offer presence. Your eyes no longer search, they see. And what you begin to see is not just the world more clearly, but yourself. Not as a project, not as a collection of flaws, but as a radiant point of awareness through which life itself is waking up. You were not sent here to find your light, you were sent here to reveal it. And every time you choose authenticity over approval, presence over performance, surrender over control, you peel back another layer of illusion and let that light shine through. You will not always feel certain, you will not always feel strong. But even in the wobble, in the tears, in the trembling especially, there you are aligned. Because truth does not require polish. It only requires presence. The divine is not waiting for your perfection. It is waiting for your participation. Your honest, unfiltered, unguarded participation in this one precious moment. And when you give yourself fully to this moment, without editing, without resisting, without needing it to be different, what arises is not chaos, but clarity, not confusion, but communion. The separate self dissolves, the striving stops, and what remains is the silent knowing that all you need has always been here. You are the answer to your own prayer. You are the peace you've been pursuing. You are the miracle you've been waiting to see. Not in some future version, not on the other side of more effort, but now, in this breath, in this being, in this holy, unrepeatable now. There is a kind of knowing that does not speak in words. It does not arrive through reasoning or logic. It rises in stillness. It surfaces when the mind grows quiet, when the heart softens, when the walls of identity dissolve into the open sky of being. This knowing is not something you possess, it is something you become. It does not answer questions, it ends them. Not with solutions, but with peace. In that peace, the need to explain your worth fades. The impulse to justify your presence disappears. You no longer measure yourself by the yardsticks of a world that forgets its own sanctity. Instead, you begin to root into a deeper truth that your life is not an accident, but a declaration. A living statement of divine intention spoken into form by the same breath that shapes galaxies. There is a difference between being alive and truly living. To be alive is biological, but to truly live is spiritual. It is to move through the world with your soul exposed, not shielded. It is to greet each moment not as a threat to brace against, but as a doorway to open into. When you truly live, you stop asking, what should I be doing? And begin asking, how can I be more fully here? The world around you may continue its dance of distraction, rushing, reacting, performing, but your liberation begins when you choose a slower rhythm, when you become unhurried, when you meet the moment with reverence instead of resistance. Nothing is lost in slowness. On the contrary, it is in slowness that everything is finally found. You do not need a different life to feel peace. You need a different lens, one not clouded by comparison or doubt, but polished by presence and trust. The more clearly you see through this lens, the more you realize that what once appeared as problems were simply invitations to return. To return not to who you were, but to who you are beneath the noise, beneath the name, beneath the story. This is the soft revolution, choosing to be awake in a world asleep to its own divinity, choosing to listen when it would be easier to speak, choosing to feel when it would be safer to numb, choosing to love without condition, even when the world offers none in return. This kind of love is not naive. It is not sentimental. It is fierce in its softness, unshakable in its gentleness. It is the power of a soul that remembers. And when you remember, truly remember, there is nothing to defend, no image to protect, no role to perform. You move through life like water, clear, flowing, unobstructed by identity. You become less interested in how things appear and more interested in what they feel like. You stop chasing clarity through certainty and begin discovering it through surrender. This surrender is not giving up, it is giving over. It is releasing the illusion of control so that you can receive the gift of alignment. Life is not asking you to force it into your design, it is inviting you to trust its unfolding. And when you do, a quiet joy begins to emerge, not loud, not dependent, but constant, like a hum in the background of your being, reminding you that all is well, even when the world forgets how to show it. You begin to bless the ordinary, to sanctify the simple, a glance, a breath. A moment of silence becomes a cathedral, You realize that spirituality is not something you add to life, it is the awareness with which you meet it. Every moment becomes a doorway. Every encounter becomes a mirror. Every breath becomes a prayer without words. You are not here to master life like a test. You are here to merge with it like a lover. To become so intimate with the present that even your pain begins to sing. Not because it disappears, but because it is finally met, not judged, not resisted, but held in the arms of an awareness that has room for all of you, your light, your longing, your becoming. There is no greater freedom than this, to let life be what it is and still choose to open your heart, to no longer require conditions to justify joy, to no longer wait for external change to permit internal peace. You are allowed to be whole, even in the midst of uncertainty. You are allowed to rest, not because everything is resolved, but because you are rooted in something deeper than resolution truth. And the truth is this: your being is enough, not because you've earned it, but because you exist. And existence itself is the only credential the soul requires. You do not need to build a case for your worthiness. You do not need to qualify for belonging. You already belong to yourself, to the moment, to the great unfolding mystery that called you into form and whispered, be. There is a silence deeper than the absence of sound. It does not come when the noise ends. It comes when your resistance to what is falls away. In that silence, the soul finds its native language again. It does not speak in syllables, it speaks in presence. And once you touch that silence, even for a moment, you are never quite the same. Not because something new has arrived, but because something ancient has been remembered. The world will not understand your silence. It will ask for explanations, for evidence, for timelines and goals. But you are no longer living from the world's demands. You are living from the pulse beneath them. You are no longer navigating by maps made by others. You are following the compass that rises from stillness. And that compass does not point north. It points inward, to the holy territory within you that no fear can invade, no loss can touch, no lie can distort. You have always been more than the version of yourself you tried to perfect. That version was built for applause, for survival, for acceptance. But the true self does not need any of these things. It does not seek permission to shine. It radiates, because radiance is its nature. When you stop trying to become something else, this self returns not as a reward, but as a revelation, a reminder that you were never lost, only distracted by illusions dressed as truth. And what are these illusions? They're the ideas that tell you joy is conditional, that love must be earned, that your value is based on production, performance, or popularity. These illusions fracture the soul, turning the simple act of being into a project of proving. But the soul was never a project. It was and is and always will be, complete in its quiet majesty. Let the world think what it will. Let them measure success by numbers and names. You are no longer living for the surface. You are rooted now in the sacred soil of your own being. Your joy is not loud, but it is steady. Your peace is not flashy, but it is deep. Your love is not dramatic, but it is unshakable. And this is your power, not in what you do, but in how you are. In the way your presence becomes a sanctuary, a mirror, a quiet invitation for others to come home to themselves. You begin to see others differently too. You no longer react to their masks. You see beyond their words. You feel the ache beneath their anger, the fear behind their pride. Compassion flows not from pity, but from shared humanity. You recognize that we are all walking each other home, even if we're stumbling, even if we forget the way. And in that recognition, your heart opens not because it is naive, but because it is wise. Because it knows that love is the only truth wide enough to hold this world. This love is not the kind you find. It is the kind you become. And to become it, you do not need to change, you need to surrender. Surrender not to passivity, but to truth. To stop arguing with life and start aligning with it. To stop resisting the waves and become the ocean. There is no fight to win, no enemy to conquer. Only layers of illusion to dissolve until only the light remains. And that light is you. Not the you others have defined, not the version dressed in titles and timelines, but the you that was here before you knew your name. The you that watched quietly as life unfolded, waiting patiently for your return. That you is never left. It only waits to be remembered. When you live from this place, the extraordinary becomes ordinary. You don't need fireworks to feel alive. A breeze, a look, a single breath becomes a symphony. You walk more slowly, not because you are lost, but because you are finally arriving. You speak less, not out of withholding, but because silence has become your sanctuary. You need less, not because you are lacking, but because you have touched the fullness that cannot be taken. And that fullness begins to flow into everything you touch. Your relationships shift, not because you demand more, but because you bring more presence, more honesty, more grace. Your work transforms, not because you hustle harder, but because you move in harmony with your inner rhythm. Even your pain becomes holy, not something to run from, but something to sit with, to listen to learn from. It is not the enemy, it is the teacher in disguise. The sacred is not found in avoiding life, it is found in embracing it. Every tear, every doubt, every aching question becomes a path to deeper wholeness when met with presence. You begin to realize that healing is not becoming better, it is becoming more you. Peeling back the layers until only truth remains. And that truth is beautiful, not the polished kind, not the curated image of success, but the raw, real, vulnerable beauty of a soul awake to itself. That kind of beauty cannot be sold or captured. It is felt. It is known. It is what draws others in without explanation. It is what allows you to walk through the world with quiet confidence, not because you have all the answers, but because you are no longer afraid of the questions. And in the end, that is freedom. Not a life free of difficulty, but a life free of disconnection. A life where you are no longer at war with yourself. A life where you no longer search for what cannot be found, because you have discovered that everything you need, every answer, every ounce of worth, every drop of love has been within you all along. This is not an ending. This is a beginning. A deep inhale after a lifetime of holding your breath. A quiet yes to the life that has been waiting for you to awake. All you need is already within. And now, you are beginning to live like it. There comes a moment, not in the mind, but in the marrow, when you no longer seek to arrive, because you have discovered you were never lost. The journey dissolves, not because it was wrong, but because it led you precisely where it was always meant to, home. And not a home of walls or structures, but the indwelling sanctuary of your own sacred presence. You stand at the altar of now, not as a pilgrim begging for entry, but as the beloved returning to where you've always belonged. This is not the finale you imagine. There are no triumphant fanfares, no flashing lights. Only the gentle knowing that the quest has quietly ended, not in finding something new, but in finally resting in what has always been true. The treasure is not hidden, because it was never buried. It is you. It has always been you. Not the constructed self, but the vast, luminous awareness that has patiently held space for every version of your becoming. And now, with the dust of searching settled, you begin to move through the world with different eyes. Eyes that no longer see people as strangers, but as reflections. Eyes that no longer chase meaning, but reveal it. You no longer divide life into sacred and mundane, for you have seen that the sacred lives in everything. In a whisper, in a touch, in the way sunlight filters through leaves at dusk. What once felt ordinary now feels infused with holiness, because you are finally present enough to witness the miracle in motion. You speak, and your words are not coated in pretense, but drenched in sincerity. You listen, and it is not out of politeness, but because the soul behind the words matters to you. Your laughter is no longer a performance, it is a release. Your silence no longer uncomfortable, it is alive. You are no longer living to prove anything. You are living to give everything presence, truth, wholeness, love. Let this be the blessing that closes the circle. Nothing was wasted. Not the heartbreak, not the waiting, not the times you stumbled through the dark. They softened you, they emptied you, they prepared the soil for this flowering of truth. Every moment cracked open the shell of illusion, and now the soul breathes, uncontained, unchained. Unapologetics. There will still be storms. The winds of doubt will visit, but you will no longer fear them, for you have discovered the unmoving stillness within you. You have learned that your peace does not depend on the sky being clear It depends on your willingness to remain grounded. And now, rooted in this truth, you bend but you do not break. You feel but you do not forget who you are. And who are you? You are the quiet after the thunder, the calm in the center of the storm. You are the song that sings itself when the world goes silent. You are what remains when all that is false falls away. You are the breath of God made form, walking with awareness through a world still half asleep. You are what the universe is doing in this one sacred form. Let the world continue to spin. Let the stories continue to rise and fall like waves. You need no longer cling to the surface. You are the ocean. You are the depth. You are the vastness beyond measurement. And you are here not to reach the light, but to remember you are the light. Let your life now be a quiet revolution. Let your choices be guided not by fear, but by resonance. Let your joy be rooted in nothing and therefore unshakable. Let your sorrow be holy. Let your being be the offering. And if ever you forget, as we all do, return again to the breath, to the silence, to the soft place within you that never left, never judged, never doubted your worth. That place will always welcome you, always remind you, always whisper with eternal clarity. All you need is already within. And now you remember, and now you are free. This life is a miracle, not in the way fireworks dazzle or storms shake the earth, but in the quiet way a single breath enters your body without asking for permission. In the subtle whisper of your heartbeat, in the rising and falling of your chest, in the way the stars remain faithful to the night sky. You are living, moving, being, and that is nothing less than a miracle. Not someday, not later, now. This moment, unnoticed by most, is steeped in divinity. You did not come here to chase miracles. You came to remember that you are one. There is a great forgetting that happens the moment we arrive. We are born as pure being, unafraid to cry, to need, to love without condition. But slowly, the world teaches us another language, the language of separation. We are taught that we are not whole unless we earn it, that we are not lovable unless we prove it, that we are not safe unless we control everything around us. And so we forget. We forget the sacredness of simply being. But the soul, your soul, never forgets. It watches patiently as you run and strive and shape yourself into an acceptable version for a world that itself is aching for truth. It waits through the noise, through the striving, through the exhaustion of trying to become enough in a world that cannot define your worth. And then one day, without thunder or ceremony, you pause. And in that pause, you feel something. Something ancient, something eternal. The breath behind the breath, the light behind your eyes. The stillness that has been here all along. And that, beloved, is the beginning of awakening. It is the sacred return, not to a place, not to a role, but to your essence. You are not a body with a soul. You are a soul wearing a body for a time. And that body, that story, that name, they are not who you are. They are garments, temporary expressions. You are the silent presence underneath. There is no becoming. There is only remembering. Remembering that you are already whole, already enough, already divine. The mind will resist this. It will say, but I've failed, but I'm not ready, but I've been wounded. And I say to you, those wounds are sacred, not because they define you, but because they've opened you. The cracks in your heart are not flaws. They are doorways through which the light enters. The Tao does not try to shine. It simply is. And so it illuminates all things. You are not here to force your way through life. You are here to align with what is already flowing, already guiding, already perfect in its unfolding. When you let go of striving, you fall into grace. When you release the illusion of control, you begin to move with the current of life rather than against it. And life, this life is not random. It is intelligent. It is sacred. It is miraculous. But you must learn to see again, not with your eyes, but with your soul. You must become still enough to feel the miracle pulsing in the silence, in the breath, in the ordinary. When the mind becomes quiet and the heart becomes open, what you will discover is not a new self, but the timeless self you've been all along. You are not your thoughts. You are the space in which those thoughts rise and fall. You are not your emotions. You are the awareness that holds them with compassion. You are not your past. You are the presence that has witnessed every moment of it, untouched and whole. And this presence is freedom. Freedom is not found in rearranging the outer world until it pleases the ego. Freedom is the recognition that nothing needs to change for peace to be here now, because peace was never missing. It was only drowned out by the noise of not enough. But the soul does not shout, it whispers, and in its whisper is the whole universe. Your worth is not up for debate. You were deemed worthy the moment you were breathed into existence. You were not placed here to earn love, you are love. You were not sent here to find God, you are an extension of God, exploring itself in form, and that is why your life is a miracle, because it is not separate from the divine. It is the divine. You are the wave and the ocean, the flame and the fire, the moment and eternity. Let that truth settle in your bones. Let it echo in your breath. Let it remind you that you need not perform to be accepted. You need only be real. Real with your pain, real with your joy, real with your journey. The ego says, I must be more. The soul says, I already am. And the soul is always right. There is nothing more healing than presence. When you return to the present moment without judgment, without needing it to be different, you touch the eternal. You realize that this moment is not lacking anything. It is whole, and so are you. Healing is not fixing. It is allowing yourself to feel, to break, to be held by something larger than your story, to soften instead of harden, to forgive instead of cling, to release the illusion that you were ever alone, because you never were. The same presence that grows trees from seeds and turns seasons without effort is the presence that breathes you. You are not apart from it. You are it. And when you know this, not just with your mind, but with your being, you will begin to live differently. You will speak more gently. You will walk more slowly. You will notice beauty in places you once overlooked. You will begin to see life not as a task to be managed, but as a sacred ceremony unfolding breath by breath. You will understand that the miracle was never what you were chasing. It was the one doing the chasing. You already whole. Already holy, already enough. This life is a miracle, not because of what might happen tomorrow, but because you are here now, breathing, feeling, loving, existing. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be present, and presence is perfection. Let this be the day you remember what your soul has always known. You are not a seeker. You are the sought. Let this be the breath where striving ends and surrender begins. Let this be the moment where you finally allow yourself to be what you already are, the miracle. And as you walk through this world, carry that knowing with you like a light that cannot be dimmed. Let it guide you not to impress, but to express, not to win, but to awaken. There are no accidents. There is only love calling you home in every experience. And now, beloved, you are ready to listen. You are ready to remember. This life is a miracle, and so are you. You did not come into this world to conform to its noise, but to remember your own stillness. Beneath every ambition you've ever held, beneath every title, every plan, every map you've tried to follow, there is a deep, unshakable truth pulsing in your chest. It is the truth that you are not separate from life, but a living embodiment of its intelligence. You are not here to master the world. You are here to reunite with the part of you that was never broken. When a river flows to the ocean, it does not hurry. It does not apologize for its curves, its eddies, its quiet moments. It simply moves with the grace of what is. And you too are allowed to be this honest. You are allowed to move at the pace of soul, not the speed of culture. You are allowed to slow down without explanation, to change direction without justification, to sit in silence without shame. For there is wisdom in the quiet places, wisdom that speaks when the world grows silent. It is not loud. It does not clamor for your attention. It rests beneath the surface, waiting only for your willingness to stop searching long enough to hear. And when you do, you will know your purpose has never been about becoming someone. It has always been about unbecoming everything that is not truly you. You were not sent here to accumulate identities. You are not placed on this earth to wear the mask of perfection. You are not meant to shrink yourself to fit the mold of others' expectations. You are here to be the full, unedited expression of the divine force that breathes stars into existence and gives shape to the unseen. Every cell in your body is a cathedral. Every moment of awareness is a return to grace. And in your stillest knowing, you already understand this. You felt it in those moments when time seems to dissolve, when the past and future no longer tug at your soul, and all that remains is this, the inhale, the exhale, the sacred presence of being. That is where life touches you, not in the noise, but in the space between. We've been taught to measure our worth by outcomes, by achievements, by how well we can convince the world that we belong. But the soul does not operate in measurements. It exists beyond the binary of success and failure. It does not care if you are applauded. It cares that you are aligned, that you are rooted in your truth, that you are willing to live not from fear, but from the quiet courage of authenticity. When you begin to live from this sacred space, the external world no longer holds power over your peace. Circumstances may rise and fall. Seasons may shift. Relationships may transform. But you remain the stillness beneath the movement. You become like the mountain untouched by the storm, grounded in your being. This is the miracle. Not that life is always gentle, but that you can remain gentle within it. Not that all pain disappears, but that love can rise in the midst of it. Not that you avoid the darkness, but that you remember your light within it. And when you truly see yourself through the eyes of the divine, you will stop bargaining with your worth. You will stop waiting for permission to be who you are. You will stop looking to others for the validation only your soul can provide. Because the sacred does not beg to be noticed. It simply is. And so are you. You are not the turbulence. You are the sky. You are not the chapter. You are the blank page upon which all stories are written. You are not the echo of a broken past. You are the song that keeps singing, even after the world forgets the lyrics. Let this remembrance settle into your bones. Let it whisper through your breath. Let it meet you in the quiet moments of your day, not as a new idea, but as an ancient truth rekindled. There is nothing to fix, nothing to prove, nothing to become. Only this moment to allow, only this breath to feel, only this sacred life to embrace, exactly as it is. And that is the essence of a miracle. There comes a moment, unmarked by clocks or calendars, when you no longer chase clarity like a mirage on the horizon. You begin instead to trust in the fog, to walk with open palms into the mystery, no longer needing every answer to unfold before you step forward. The miracle is not in knowing what comes next, it is in knowing that whatever comes you are carried, not by effort, but by an invisible rhythm that has always known your way. The moon does not question whether it is full enough, it simply shows its face in cycles. So too, you are allowed to wax and wane, to rise and retreat, to feel your fullness and your emptiness without shame. There is a sacred timing to your becoming that cannot be rushed by will or accelerated by fear. You are allowed to honor your own pace, to bloom in seasons that make no sense to the world, to trust that your petals will find the sun in due time. We are taught to seek permanence in a world built on change. Yet everything true is fluid emotions, identities, relationships, the body that holds you. And still, you endure. Not because you've anchored yourself to certainty, but because you've anchored yourself to presence. You've learned to find stability not in what is unchanging, but in your unchanging willingness to meet each change with love. It is not weakness to feel deeply. It is the sign of a soul still alive. Let your tears baptize the moments that move you. Let your grief speak the names of all you've had to release. Let your joy ring loud in your chest like cathedral bells. You were never meant to flatten your experience to fit into someone else's comfort. You are here to feel it all, and in that fullness of feeling, you become whole. There is an intelligence beyond intellect guiding you. It speaks not through facts, but through a language older than words, through sensations, symbols, synchronicities. It is the way your body leans in or pulls away, the way your breath shortens or softens, the way your heart stirs when truth is near. You don't need more data to know what's real. You need only to become quiet enough to trust the knowing that lives in your bones. The ego will tell you that life is a ladder to climb, each step proving your worth. But the soul sees life not as a ladder, but as a circle, a sacred spiral, always bringing you home. And what is home if not the place within you untouched by success or failure? What is home if not the silent core that never asks you to earn your belonging, You are not climbing toward value. You are circling back to the truth that you never lost it. True transformation is not loud. It does not announce itself with trumpets or demand recognition. It happens in quiet thresholds, in the breath where you choose peace over defense, in the pause before you react, in the decision to meet pain with compassion rather than judgment. It is not always visible from the outside, but it is always felt in the shift from survival to presence. You are not the thoughts that visit you. You are the awareness that welcomes them and lets them go. You are not the waves of anxiety or sorrow. You are the ocean vast enough to hold them without drowning. Every time you return to that knowing, you reclaim your power. Not the kind that controls, but the kind that liberates. The power to be even when the world tempts you to perform. Let yourself be soft where you used to be guarded. Let yourself be curious where you used to judge. Let yourself rest where you used to push. This is not giving up, it is giving in to something more true. It is surrender not to defeat, but to divinity. And in that surrender, your strength is revealed not in resistance, but in your unwavering willingness to remain open. You do not have to be fearless to be free. You only have to stop letting fear make your choices. Courage is not the absence of trembling, it is the decision to move anyway, to trust anyway, to speak anyway. Let your trembling be holy. Let your vulnerability be a portal. Let your openness be the altar on which your false self is laid down and your true self rises, undressed and luminous. And so walk on, not with certainty, but with sincerity. Let your life be your prayer. Let your breath be your offering. Let your footsteps write love letters to the earth beneath you. You are not here to master life. You are here to merge with it, to dissolve into its mystery, to be undone by its beauty. You are not lost, dear one. You are being reshaped by the invisible hands of grace. Let them have you. Let them mold you not into who you think you should be, but into who you already are, when nothing remains but truth. This life, in all its ache and ecstasy, its beauty and bewilderment, is not here to punish you, it is here to polish you. And what emerges from that polish is not a perfect person, but a luminous soul. Not someone who has conquered life, but someone who has finally said yes to it. And that yes is your miracle. There is a quiet liberation that begins when you stop reaching for what is already within your grasp. Not because you've lowered your standards, but because you've lifted the veil. You see that the love you've sought in 1,000 faces lives quietly beneath your own skin. You discover that belonging is not earned by fitting in, it is remembered by standing still in your truth. And in that stillness, you find not just yourself, but the entire universe leaning in to meet you. The wind does not argue with the shape of the mountain. It dances around it. It embraces the form of what is without resistance. So too, you are not here to change your nature to fit a mold. You are here to let your true form be seen, be felt, be known, even if others do not understand you, even if your path curves where theirs is straight. The miracle is not in being understood, it is in being real. Your presence is your power, not your performance, not your accolades, not your ability to convince or impress. Your presence, the way you sit with silence, the way your gaze softens when truth is near, the way your hands tremble and still reach anyway. There is more sacredness in your quiet authenticity than in a lifetime of pretending. Do not be afraid of your own depth. The world may urge you to skim the surface, to stay light, to stay palatable, but the soul has no interest in the shallow. It is here for the plunge, the fall, the dive into the mystery. Let yourself descend into your own depths, not to lose yourself, but to recover what was never gone, to feel the sacred pulse that beats beneath every sorrow and every joy. Even the waiting is holy, the pause between what was and what will be, the space where the seed lies unseen beneath the soil, gathering strength, awaiting spring. We are so quick to rush the unfolding, but there is wisdom in the in-between. There is a ripening of soul that happens in the quiet before the blooming. Trust that. Even if nothing seems to be moving, everything is becoming. You were not meant to numb yourself just to make this life bearable. You were meant to feel it, to let its colors seep into your pores, to let its edges carve you open, to let its warmth and wildness awaken something long forgotten. You are not fragile for feeling. You are powerful for allowing your heart to remain open in a world that often asks you to close. Let forgiveness be your liberation, not your burden. Not because the past was light, but because you no longer need to carry its weight. You forgive not to erase what happened, but to release what has tried to define you. You forgive so your soul can breathe again, unclenched, unshackled, unafraid to love in the aftermath. When you stop trying to prove your worth, you start to embody it. You no longer need to declare your value. It radiates from your being like sunlight from the sky. And in that radiance, others begin to remember their own light. You become not a mirror for approval, but a mirror for remembrance. A sacred presence reminding others of what is already inside them. You are not the storm. You are the one who can sit inside it and still know peace. You are not the chaos. You are the consciousness that watches it rise and fall without clinging. And in that witnessing, you become the calm the world forgets it needs. The soft gaze that says, I see you, and I still choose love. This life will not always give you what you expect, but it will always give you what you need for your soul's becoming. The people who stay, the ones who leave, the joy that lifts, the grief that carves all of it is an invitation. Not to make sense of the mystery, but to meet it with reverence. And so you walk not in certainty, but in faith. Not faith in some distant reward, but in the sacredness of this moment. The miracle is not out ahead of you, waiting. It is here in the quiet unfolding of your breath, in the way your chest rises without asking for permission, in the way your soul keeps whispering, there is more, and it is already within you. You are not a mistake in motion, you are a mystery in bloom. There is nothing random about your arrival, no accident in the way your presence intersects with time and space. You were spoken into being by a current of love so vast, so precise, that even the stars bowed in silence. You are here not to justify your existence, but to embody its sacredness. To walk as a living testament to the intelligence that shaped galaxies and still found it worthy to breathe life into you. And yet, how often you've been taught to question your own belonging, to reduce your brilliance to something explainable, marketable, acceptable. But the soul was never meant to be explained, it was meant to be experienced. And so the miracle is not in becoming understood by others, but in finally understanding yourself. Seeing yourself not as a fragment, but as a full expression of source energy, walking this earth in skin and story. There is an art to remembering, a slow, holy unfolding in which the fog lifts, not all at once, but in waves. Some days you glimpse the vastness of your being with perfect clarity. Other days the clouds return, but even in those moments of forgetting, the light never leaves. You are not your clarity or your confusion. You are the awareness holding both. You are the space through which forgetting becomes remembering again. Let the earth be your teacher. Watch the trees. They do not cling to their leaves in autumn. They trust the letting go. They trust the bareness. They trust the cold that calls them inward. So too must you learn to surrender, not because you failed, but because there is something truer waiting to rise from the space you make. Every release is a resurrection waiting in silence. The soul is not fed by the applause of others. It is fed by truth, by presence, by the small moments of alignment when your outer life matches your inner knowing. And sometimes those moments go unnoticed by the world, but they do not go unnoticed by life. Every time you choose love over defense, stillness over reaction, authenticity over approval, the fabric of the universe softens around you. You are remembered. You are seen. There is no need to rush your healing. The timeline the world gave you is not divine. Your unfolding is holy even when it's slow, even when it's quiet, even when it feels invisible. The miracle is not in how quickly you arrive, it is in the way you never stop returning to yourself, breath after breath, even when the road vanishes beneath your feet. You are not meant to carry the past like a chain. You're meant to honor it like a teacher and let it rest. You're not meant to drag the future like a burden. You are meant to trust it like a seed planted in the dark. This moment, this exact breath, is where your power lives. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, now. And the more deeply you sink into now, the more eternity opens at your feet. Do not underestimate the sacred power of your being, the way your silence soothes, the way your presence heals, the way your truth unlocks doorways in others. You are not just a person moving through the world. You are a field of energy, a walking invitation for remembrance. And when you live from that space, Everything changes not because you forced it to, but because you allowed yourself to be who you already are. You will not find peace by controlling the storm. You will find peace by remembering that you are not the storm. You are the stillness beneath it. And even when the winds howl and the sky darkens, the stillness remains. It does not flinch, it does not flee, it simply is, and so are you. This life is not something to win. It is something to receive, to bow before, to breathe into. The miracle is not an event. It is a way of seeing, a way of being, a sacred posture of heart that says, even here, even now, there is something holy unfolding. And so you come to the final threshold, not a finish line, not a conclusion, but a quiet doorway opening back into your own heart. There is nothing more to chase now, nothing left to earn, nothing more to prove. Only the gentle awareness that all along you were walking in the presence of something eternal, that even in your forgetfulness, life was remembering you. This is the miracle that in a world of impermanence, your essence endures, that while roles dissolve and identities change, the light within you remains untouched. It is not diminished by time, nor tarnished by pain. It is not a flame that flickers. It is the sun rising each day within the cathedral of your being, no matter the weather outside. You have not failed. You have not fallen behind. You are not broken, and you never were. Every detour was part of the path. Every ache was a prayer in disguise. Every silence was a deeper listening. And now, here you are, not fixed, but revealed. Not improved, but remembered. Not higher, but home. The river of your life no longer needs to prove its destination. It only needs to flow. And in that flowing, you meet grace again and again, in a stranger's smile, in the breath of dawn, in the stillness that cradles your sorrow without needing to change it. You find that joy is not elsewhere. It is here, woven into the ordinary, singing softly beneath the noise. Even the questions you once begged the sky to answer no longer burn with urgency. Not because they've been solved, but because you've surrendered to something larger than answers. A presence, a peace, a pulse that says, I may not know where this road leads, but I trust the one who walks it with me. Let your life be an offering, not of perfection, but of presence. Let each moment be your prayer, each step your temple, each breath your return. You do not need to build your worth, you only need to embody it. The truth is, the more you simply are, the more life flows through you without effort. You are not the flame trying to find the fire. You are the fire remembering it was never extinguished. And now, beloved, you see. You see with eyes no longer searching. You feel with a heart no longer defending. You walk with feet no longer racing to arrive. You are here, fully, finally, now. And in this now, all things rest, the striving quiets, the masks fall, the wounds close not because they are forgotten, but because they are held. And what remains is not weakness, but wonder, not emptiness, but space. Sacred, fertile space for the divine to breathe through you without resistance. This life has not always been easy, but it has always been holy. Every chapter, a verse in the sacred scripture of your being. Every breath, a syllable in the song only your soul can sing. You are not the silence between the miracles. You are the miracle the silence was preparing you for. You need not wait any longer. You need not become anything more. You are the light. You are the way. You are the love you have longed for. This life, this breath, is your cathedral. This presence is your power. This stillness is your song. And this, beloved, is your homecoming. Welcome back to yourself. This life is a miracle, and so are you.